What is going on, everybody? It's the Franz, and we're here for UnScripted, episode number 135 for your September the 6th, 2020. It has been, what a week it is. All Out is in the books. Kind of disappointing after all the hype and all the build for months. It kind of could have been a lot better. I mean, there was a lot of good wrestling on there, but it's had a lot of bad moments. Bad injury, bad botch for one Matt Sydal. Couple of bad matches. It just wasn't the big hype show that we thought it was going to be. But if you notice during Kip Sabian's interview, he took a dig at WWE, at least AEW did. And it's the first thing I'm going to talk about. Vince McMahon is threatening to punish talent engaging with third parties, Cameo, Twitch, YouTube, all of those. YouTube I don't think is a big deal because the big things that you would see on YouTube, like up, down, down, and anything else like that matter, WWE already has ties to that. Everything goes to the WWE channels with like YouTube. So anybody thinking up, down, down is going to be in trouble do not need to probably worry because it's been around for a good while and WWE makes money off that. Now, here we go. Vince McMahon issued an edict this past week that talent can no longer engage with outside third parties, which would presumably include Cameo and Twitch. WWE held a call with talent last Saturday regarding the reinvention of the product. During the call, it was said that WWE owns the real names of talents, which they do not. They cannot legally own somebody's name they were born with. That is bullshit. Not just their character names. McMahon followed up by sending a letter on Thursday. McMahon wrote that it was imperative that they promote and protect the brand in every conceivable way, and the talent have 30 days to stop engaging with third parties. Some of you are, he says, and I quote, some of you are engaged with outside third parties using your name and likeness in ways that are detrimental to our company. It is imperative that these activities be terminated within the next 30 days by October the 2nd. Continued violations will result in fines, suspensions, or terminations at WWE's discretion. McMahon wrote that these actions are necessary as part of WWE rebuilding process as they re-enter the next phase of growth. It will be interesting to see if this is legal in any way, which honestly it is not. Here's the thing. They are independent contractors. They are not employees. Vince McMahon can terminate them and get sued for unlawful termination because this is not legal. You do not own somebody's birth name. Vince McMahon just again showing you how he needs to go. There is no court in any jurisdiction that's going to be, well, WWE owns your legal name. You can't use it. Adam Cole has a YouTube page. His Twitch page. His Twitch name is Chugs. WWE does not own the rights to that. He can go out there and promote himself as Chugs on Twitch, and WWE has no jurisdiction. Dakota Kai has one, and I think it's Challenge Girl or it's something Girl. I can't remember the full name. WWE doesn't own that name. They can't tell her you can't use that name or make money off of that name. This is Vince McMahon trying to control every aspect of a talent's life. Pretty much, WWE and Vince McMahon want you to wake up, eat, breathe, sleep, WWE, and nothing else. Well, with the fact that the pandemic thing's been going on, and they're not really allowed to do anything else, this is a way for them to have time to interact with talent, with other talent, interact with fans, build your brand, get the awareness out there for people who probably have forgotten about the WWE, who have fallen off the WWE wagon over the last 10, 15 years. Maybe make new fans because, hey, I know AJ Styles has a Twitch account. I watch AJ Styles on there, even though it's probably not the name he uses. Even though that's his name, he came out with it. It's his fucking property. WWE cannot own that. And they go and they see AJ Styles, their favorite streamer, on WWE television on Friday nights on Fox. Wow, I'm going to see what's going on here. This is just WWE and Vince McMahon not realizing how stupid they were being. No matter what Vince McMahon or WWE says about they own the league, your birth name, if like your birth name is Alan Jones, aka AJ Styles, we own that. No, you do not. You cannot legally own somebody's birth name like that. Vince McMahon is leaving himself up to a lot of lawsuits. Why are they doing this? It's not because the talents are making money. It's the fact that the talents are making extra money on the side of WWE, and WWE's not getting a cut. That is pretty much what it is. They want their cut, and if people want to do a Twitch page, WWE wants them to do it through WWE, so WWE gets that. So it's like, say, because I think Twitch takes a 40% cut of what people make on Twitch. If you're a small streamer, I'm on Twitch. I work on Twitch. I don't have as many followings as I hope I would, but I'm pretty sure it's 60 to the creator and 40 to Twitch. Now, if that's true, and Twitch takes 40 and creator takes 60, WWE wants 50% of what the creator takes. So, say you take it's 40 for Twitch, 30 for you, and 30 for WWE. That is ridiculous. They want their cut because it's another way of WWE making a stream. They want everyone to go. WWE pretty much wants to be one of those multimedia channels that people use to get paid through Twitch and YouTube. I don't remember what they're actually called, but you have a representative. They take a cut, and you get what you get. That's what WWE wants to be to these talents, when WWE doesn't need to do that. It's sad, it's weak, it's pathetic, and it just shows that Vince McMahon has to fucking go. Now, WWE got a lot of flack from talent, from outsiders, from wrestling fans. They released a statement on making them do this. So, much like Disney and Warner Bros., WWE creates and promotes and invests in its intellectual property, i.e. the stage name of performers like The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, Roman Reigns, Big E, and Braun Strowman. It is the control and exploration of these characters that allows WWE to drive revenue, which in turn enables the company to compensate performers at the highest level in the sports entertainment industry, notwithstanding with contractual language. It is imperative for the success of our company to protect our greatest assets and establish partnerships with third parties on a company-wide basis, aka they want a cut. I just said, they want a cut. Rather than at an individual level, which as a result will provide more value for all individuals. Bullshit. As noted last Sunday with talent to discuss the reinvention of the brand, which was followed up by a letter from Vince McMahon letting talent know they need to remove themselves from third-party services, Cameo, Twitch, etc. by October 2nd, as Wrestling Inc. was first reported in news. Repeat violations could result in fine, suspension, or termination of talents. Vince McMahon's letter noted that the actions are necessary as they grow into the next phase of growth for the company. Vince McMahon doesn't care about his talent. If I was in Vince McMahon's position, I would say, you know what, fine, you're building the brand. More people could watch. Maybe, like I said, AJ Styles, I don't know his sub count, his view count, his follower count. But say he has 1 million followers on Twitch and 500,000 subscribers. 500,000, that, 1 million people could be watching AJ Styles under his name. Turn on Fox on a Friday night at 8 to 10. See their favorite streamer watch on YouTube on Fox and go, whoa, I didn't know he was on here on 8 o'clock on Fridays. I'm gonna have to see what's going on here. And if the storylines were better and WWE's creative direction was better, you would have somebody who watches AJ on Twitch turn into watching somebody who watches AJ on Friday, building your audience. This is WWE just wanting their cuts. They don't care about the talent or building their brand. People are making money, and it's just a sad endeavor. And I can understand why talent are not happy. Now, someone said something about Paige herself has 45,000 like $45,000 or something a month coming from her Twitch subscribers. Imagine losing that money just out of nowhere. Now, like I said, I'm a content creator. I don't do as well as other people, but there are people out there. Like, yes, Ninja, who was a Twitch streamer, or was a Twitch streamer, then went to Mixer, and then whatever else. He has signed multi-million-dollar contracts and never has to work another day in his life. There are other guys, men and women out there, who, if they miss one day of content creating, it could screw them up for a month. So, having somebody like a Paige, like an AJ Styles, like a Dakota Kai, or a Adam Cole, who have been making a little bit extra money on the side to help compensate for house shows going away because of the pandemic and traveling and all this other stuff that they don't have right now, and being able to have that release of not being bored at home go just away because Vince McMahon has to have a cut in the profit. That is Vince McMahon just looking worse and worse as we go. If I'm the talent, say fuck this shit. Fuck them. They want to fire all of us. Go right ahead. We're going to continue to do what we do. What are they going to do? They're going to fire an AJ Styles? Are they going to punish AJ Styles, one of the top talents in the company? Give me a fucking break. Are they going to punish Adam Cole, one of the top talents in NXT? Give me a fucking break. Dakota Kai has been pushed to the moon in NXT. Are they going to punish her? Give me a fucking break. The only ones, I don't know anything about cameos, whatever it is, but the only ones that I've really seen on Twitch or YouTube are like the Up Down crew, AJ Styles, Xavier, I know Zelina Vega and Aleister Black have their own YouTube channel. Sheamus has his own YouTube channel. I don't think YouTube's on the radar because I think everything that WWE talent do through YouTube goes through WWE. So they're making money off of YouTube, off of the YouTube spectrum. So WWE doesn't have any problem with that. I think YouTube is out of the woods when it comes to this stuff. But Twitch, I can understand where WWE's coming from, but it's still crummy as hell. That's why when Kip Sabian did his interview last night, and then Penelope Ford put up the sign that says this was approved by AEW, that it was a shot at WWE. Tony Khan's knowing that, hey, people are going to go work, and like if the independent come back up, which there are some independent shows showing up again, their talent are going to go work those shows. Those talent are going to make money that that AEW will not have a cut in. So who are they to say, well, we don't want you to work on Twitch. We don't want you to work on YouTube. We don't want you to work on Cameo or Instagram or anything else. Just showing you how one company is talent friendly and the other company is not. Now, there is a possibility that okay, so here's one of them. Paige's estimated Twitch revenue and former Democratic presidential candidate calling Vince out with a ruling. Hold on, let me see here. Paige's Twitch. There it is. Let me see. Andrew Yang, who was a Democratic candidate last year until he dropped out, who has given his support to AEW, says, "I'm not the Secretary of Labor. I'm pretty confident I'll have his or her number to talk about this ridiculous classification of WWE wrestlers as independent contractors while controlling their name and likeness for years, even with something as a benign as Cameo. Come on, Vince. You already deprived the folks breaking their backs for you of healthcare, security, recovery time, retirement benefits, and fair treatment licenses and royalties. At least let them make a living off their own names. Many of them need it. Absolutely." Yang also noted that he grew up a fan of pro wrestling, warned Vince that he better hope the President Donald Trump is reelected for 4 more years because change is in the air and they will impact Vince's so-called corrupt labor practices. Yang ended the threat by saying it would give him much pleasure taking action against Vince and saying that people already know what he's up to. Mick Foley was not happy about it, calling it crummy. Banning wrestlers from making it was crummy, yes. Paige, who is retired from in-ring action but still on SmackDown roster as an on-air talent, which she hasn't been seen in forever, Online gamer Chris Denker, who is close to Xavier Woods and the Up Up Down Down YouTube channel, did an educated estimate on how much money someone like Paige may be losing from Twitch if that revenue is taken away. He noted that Paige has around 15,000 concurrent subscribers on her Twitch account. Presuming that they're all tier 1 subs and Paige has a 3-5 split, then the former WWE champion is bringing in a minimum of $45,000 per month. I was wrong on that number, but $45,000. Imagine this. Imagine if you were working at a job and your boss, and you were doing Twitch on the side, making, $45,000 a month. Barely. But you were making, say about $10,000 a month. Not 45, but like $10,000 a month. And that was making up for the little bit of money you were making at your regular job, even though it was about, maybe say you're making about $6,000 a month at your regular job and $10,000 on Twitch. And you need both of those revenue streams to live the life that you're living, house, bills, everything else, food, family. And then your boss says, you know what? You need to cut this other job out, this other revenue out, or we're going to have to fire you. And, of course, if I was that person, I'm quitting the job that's going to fire me because I'm making $10,000 on Twitch, but still. And that revenue stream just disappeared. You lose $10,000 a month just like that because you were told you had to. Imagine that. Imagine having to go through that. In an update, the report by David Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer message board that the straw that broke the camel back was with WWE officials lead up to the new edict was Lana's Instagram brand deal with Bang Energy and the commercial she had uploaded for them. Lana has several Instagram posts promoting Bang Energy and the account belonging to the CEO Jack Owoc. Her most recent posts for Bang Energy are from May 27th, July 31st, August 7th, and August 26th. Lana has several Instagram ads from Fashion Nova, a popular partner for female influencers on social media, but none of them are tagged as an advertisement, which is required by the platform. She also has partnerships with at least 2 other brands. It's interesting that WWE has recently put an emphasis on Lana being a social media influencer with her character change on Raw. It is believed that the more details of the new edict will be revealed on the next tapings, including specifics on what they can and cannot do. Those tapings would have been this past Friday's SmackDown and Monday's Raw, so we'll be hearing more details soon. Lana, of course, went on Twitter and said that she is not the reason for this happening, but great to keep him out and have her in the news anyway. All I know is it's very fucking crummy. Vince McMahon should be ashamed of himself for even doing something like this. This just shows again that the 74-year-old senile old fool needs to be let go. There is nothing wrong with AJ Styles or Adam Cole or anybody else. Mia Yim, I think, has one too. Dakota Kai or anybody else using Twitch to make money. WWE themselves have a Twitch account. They don't use it often, but they do. I'm going to say about that. And the fact that I know they have a Twitch account because they did a couple months ago, or like last year, use it for a pay-per-view. I think it was like Survivor Series pay-per-view pre-show. Makes me wonder is like if they stop this, are going to make people confined to using YouTube, like WWE's Twitch account, and they'll find a way to give the share a little bit of revenue between WWE and say Adam Cole or like Dakota Kai, Xavier Woods, and all these other people who use Twitch. So instead of having the freedom to have your own schedule whenever you want, you have to conform to WWE's schedule. Typical WWE. So, let's talk about Monday Night Raw's ratings. Monday night's post-Payback Live edition of Raw featuring Fallout from Payback with Randy Orton defeating Keith Lee and Seth Rollins in a triple threat number 1 contender match drew a, get ready for this, 1.896 million viewers in the USA Network according to Showbiz Daily. This is down 6.5% from last week's 2.028 million viewers, the post-SummerSlam edition. For this week's show, the first hour drew 2.104, which it's only down 0.012 36 from last week's first hour. The second hour drew 1.882 million viewers. Last week drew 2.045. And the third hour drew 1.703. Last week's show drew 1.900. A 19% drop from hour 1. What does this tell you? The Thunderdome was a failure. This was the 6th best overall viewership since WrestleMania. The hour 1 viewership was the 2nd best since the post-WrestleMania episode, and the number is down 24% from this week last year. WWE Raw ranked number 22 for the night in total viewership on cable behind Tucker Carlson's Tonight, Hannity, The Ingram Angle, 90 Day Fiancé, others. The 5, Rachel Maddow Show, Fox News at Night, Special Report, Outnumbered, Out of Time, Outnumbered. The Story, NBA Playoffs, Round 1, NBA Playoffs, Round 1, 2, and Round 2, and the 90 Day Fiancé, Pillow Talk, and all these other stupid shows. This, of course, is just showing you that the Thunderdome was not going to be the solution that WWE wanted it to be. Last week, they drew a 2.028. This week, they drew less. Oh, wait. They drew a 2.028 2 weeks ago. Last week, they drew a 1.9. Oh, wait, no, it is a 1.9 this week. And the week before that, I forgot this is the 7th coming up. But yeah, everyone should have known that saw this coming. You can change all the bells and whistles to WWE. You can put pyro back. You can have different camera angles. You can do whatever the hell you think you need to do to get this show to be great, to what you think it could be. If the creative is no fucking better, nobody's going to stick around. Yes, we got the what is it called? The new car smell off of the Thunderdome. You had Friday, you had the SummerSlam, then you had the night after SummerSlam. All 3 of those shows, well, the 2 shows did well. But SmackDown has been dropping since then. Raw is going to do the same. We went from close to pre-pandemic numbers and we're going all the way back down to where we were before. WWE doesn't realize that the Thunderdome and Raw Underground as well are not solutions. They are band-aids to a much bigger wound. That is like trying, like if the Hoover Dam cracked open so much that it's just leaking, it's just spilling out water, and then putting a piece of tape, like a bandage, a huge bandage over it to stop it from spilling out. That's only going to work for a little bit, and then eventually it's going to shoot back out, and everything's going to keep going. That is all that has to deal with that. WWE will never learn. Now, this one I had to see here, and I'm going to read this one live because I just saw this as I was looking for news and stuff, and I read some other ones, but Nielsen makes big changes to how TV viewers are counted. There is expected to be a major ratings in TV ratings moving forward, especially involving sports, as Nielsen begins counting out-of-home viewership. Viewership will now be counted from places such as bars, restaurants, and airports. Viewers will also be counted if they take their mobile devices from home and use it to watch. The latest Nielsen tool is supposed to make a huge change in sports ratings moving forward, and particularly major sporting events and generally for the NFL. According to F4W Online, AEW and WWE will also be affected, but likely not as much, but on a much smaller scale. Actually, not true. AEW for sure will actually be probably helped with this because I've seen countless times when NXT and AEW on, people have NXT on their television, but they're watching AEW on an app, or vice versa. So NXT and AEW will probably see ratings bump up somewhat when you see people who are watching both shows at the same time, because the one that you're watching on the TV would get the rating while the one not on TV, while you're watching on your tablet, would not. Reports that the Outkick reports that the out-of-home viewership will be incorporated into numbers that Nielsen currently releases the day after events. While household rating numbers will remain constant, viewership is going to be an exact comparison to previous year's numbers. Nielsen will reportedly measure out-of-home viewership via a beeper-like device carried by people who are in the Nielsen's measurement sample. Their devices will capture and recognize the audience of what people are watching away from their home. Outkick noted that this will go to everyone from the friend's home to a hotel, bar, gym, restaurant, and so on. Hundreds of places. It was noted that an interesting aspect will be if people remember to carry the device when they're already leaving their home, which, with things like wallets, keys, and phones, Nielsen household samples have to opt into the company's in-home measurement tools. But this new way of counting viewers involves an extra step in carrying the device with you. It was noted that there will also be interesting scenarios at bars and restaurants that air sports programming but also play music during commercial breaks. One Nielsen source speculated that Outkick that is, in this scenario, if there's a 200-minute game and the source of the game is on for 160 minutes, then the viewership would be counted for 160 minutes in the average minute audience, but not for the other 40 minutes. It also said that any time a viewer watches something like with headphones while out the house, such as gyms, the data won't be counted as streaming numbers or measured separately from TV viewership. Outkick said it is highly likely that sports will benefit in the daytime talk shows on ESPN and FS1 could see a bump as they are on in bars and restaurants throughout the country, but they will need to have the sound on. F4W.com reported how there's a feeling this will help the NFL a lot and will really help sports leagues more than anything else, especially local sports teams, as people often go out to watch their favorite local teams. It was noted by F4WOnline.com that the sports world has been waiting for a change like this as ratings decline each year, and now there's an idea that they will have a comeback year, or at least a year where declines are not as bad. Honestly, if they're going to keep shoving political agendas down people's throats, then that's not going to make a damn difference. So that's going to be interesting to see what actually happens to the WWE and AEW ratings as we get further and further down the year. Should be interesting to see what happens with that. If the ratings, I don't know when they're going to implement it, but it could be something that we see helping AEW and WWE down the line. If we see a huge, like a bump, like an abnormal bump for Raw, SmackDown, AEW, and NXT, whenever this starts getting implemented, then yes, it worked. It helped out WWE and AEW, but we don't know yet. Now, we all know Renee Young left WWE after SummerSlam. Her last night was SummerSlam. What was the deciding factor for Renee Young? You saying, you know what? I'm getting out of here. I've been here enough. And WWE, it's been great. It's been fun. But it's time for me to move on. As everyone should have figured, she felt a little slighted over WWE's response to her testing positive for COVID. Because WWE wants to pretend like COVID is nothing more, which actually is nothing more than the flu, but you are a major sports entity in the world. And you need to take this shit seriously to enough where you had 30 plus positive cases during the summer. And now Renee Young has left because she felt like they were more worried about her tweeting the fact that she had COVID than actually responding to her COVID test. Former WWE broadcaster Renee Young was recently on the SI Media podcast with Jimmy Traina, where she opened up about her testing positive for COVID-19. Young has expressed multiple times since WWE departure that she holds no bitter feelings towards the company, but she did reveal that WWE was not happy when she announced on Twitter that she tested positive for COVID. Yeah, because that's your biggest worry, WWE. Fuck. Yeah, I generally just like to be transparent about everything. I like to be honest. There was no shame in having got it, which don't tell that to some people who have it and come back home and people like neighbors and stuff treat them differently. Again, we don't know what's going on with anything. We're all trying to figure it out. So when I tweeted that I had it, I wasn't doing it as like, I got it, I got COVID. That was not my MO. When I tweeted it, it was mostly, hey, I have it also in case there were people that could have been around me and maybe seen that I had. I felt a responsibility to make sure people knew that I was sick, but yeah, it was not well received. Young also revealed that she received texts from WWE officials after the tweet. Young reiterated on the podcast that her intentions were not to make the company look bad. They weren't even like, you shouldn't have posted it, but it was like, we wish you gave us a heads up. it was a bad for PR and whatnot. But again, I would have been thought to be like, hey guys, I'm gonna tweet that I have COVID. Haha. Like, that was just not what I was thinking about when I posted it. Many have criticized WWE for continuing to run shows during the pandemic, but that has resulted in many employees and talents testing positive for the coronavirus, which, if you would have known a couple weeks ago or like last week, AJ Styles on his Twitch stream, which this is another reason why WWE wants to end third-party deals, is because AJ Styles keeps shooting his mouth off. I think AJ Styles is becoming one of the reasons why Vince McMahon wants to end everything that's not YouTube, because YouTube is pre-taped mostly. Most things aren't live. But yeah, because AJ Styles keeps opening his big mouth. But she noted that the strides that are being made now made her feel so much safer for her last show. At SummerSlam, she also admitted that she felt slighted over WWE's response to her getting COVID due to her feeling that no one was concerned over her health and well-being. Listen, anything I say on this is going to end up seeming like controversial, like I'm shitting on it or whatever. But yeah, did I feel a little slighted? I didn't really feel like anyone was all that concerned that I got sick. That bothered me for sure. But it's hard to say again, like, shit, the show has to goes on, and then working at the Amway Center, and they're essentially doing the best they can do now, doing the proper test. I think that was something that should have been implemented from the beginning, since everything has gone down and everything. Well, they couldn't really. I don't fault WWE for the first few weeks of the first month implementing testing, because nobody was testing in March. Nobody was testing in March and April. It was when we got to May, when the AEW started testing, WWE should have started testing. They were just doing temperature checks and questionnaires until it was too late. Then Renee Young got COVID. Kayla Braxton got it again. Adam Pearce got it. AJ Styles got it. Daniel Bryan might have got it. And Apollo Crews probably got it because he was gone for a good while. But WWE just wanted to pretend like it was no big deal. And look what happened. One of the best people left WWE, probably mostly because of this. A big reason as to why WWE was able to continue to run shows as the pandemic affected the United States in March and April was the Florida governor deeming WWE an essential business. Young admitted on the podcast that she was shocked over that news. It was shocking. It really is shocking to see that this was deemed essential business. They made it seem like a hold on a second here. Young continued speaking on her lack of travel from her home to Vegas to Orlando, Florida. She spoke on how unnecessary it seemed for her to make that kind of travel arrangement when there was already an on-air talent that could use that live locally in Orlando. I was not traveling for a while. I was doing stuff from home. I was like, I just don't need to be there, especially when you look at what I was going on in shows at the time. As we know, again, she tested positive for COVID. AJ Styles tested positive for COVID. That's why we didn't see AJ Styles for a bit. And, of course, Daniel Bryan was in that scene. And, honestly, because that segment where she was handing him the Intercontinental title, she had COVID. AJ Styles got COVID. Matt Riddle could have COVID. Everybody in that section right there, because you had the entire SmackDown men's locker room out there. WWE's lucky the entire men's locker room didn't get COVID, because Matt Riddle beat AJ Styles on that night, and then everybody came in and had a party with Matt Riddle. And it could have went much, much worse than it did. So, I'm glad that she's gone. She's got, of course, an extensive no-compete clause. She won't not be doing anything for a good while. But I'm glad she's gone. She deserves better. If she goes to AEW, she does. What will she do there? I have no idea. Maybe they have some kind of... Maybe she does the hosting for Dark. Maybe, I don't know. All I know is that she deserves better, and maybe we'll see her in AEW soon. Now, as we know, the NHL playoffs are going on right now, and NXT for this past week and next week are going to be on Tuesday. So, NXT for the last 2 weeks, because the week before that, AEW was not on Wednesday. Well, last 3 weeks, really. AEW has not been on Wednesdays until this past Wednesday. And NXT has been running unopposed. And NXT has had some really good numbers. There has been talks of moving the weekly NXT TV show to another night on the USA Network. It was reported earlier this week by WrestleVerse that over the past month or so, WWE officials have had the discussion regarding a possible move from Wednesday nights. No decision is expected to be made anytime soon, but talks are ongoing. This past Tuesday saw the first NXT Super Tuesday episode air on USA Network due to NHL playoffs. NXT will also be doing next Tuesday night, but the show will return to the normal Wednesday time slot on September 16th. It was noted that the ratings for this past Tuesday's show, the next week's show, might have some impact on the decision to move these to another night. There's no word. Okay, let's just cut the crap here. This is not happening. NXT is moving nowhere. The only reason NXT exists on TV is to hurt AEW's ratings. AEW scored a 928,000 viewership, up 14% from last week, which was on Thursday. NXT drew, of course, on Tuesday at 849,000. So, if you want to compare those two things, even though they were unopposed, AEW did better. But AEW is on, like, AEW, if AEW never went opposed, if NXT was never on Tuesday nights, I don't think AEW goes below 1,000 ever. Or 1 million, I'm sorry, 1 million. I think AEW would have been 1 million strong, maybe even 1.2 million strong or higher. WWE doesn't want that. They don't want their competition to get higher and higher. It's not going to fucking happen. WWE wants to have AEW go out of business. Plain and simple. Vince McMahon, I always find it funny how Vince McMahon talks shit, has the commentary. Oh, every once in a while you have people talk shit of how WCW was dumb because they didn't worry about themselves. They worried about taking WWE out of business. When that's all WWE wants to do is they want AEW to fail and be out of business. So having the NXT on TV any other night makes absolutely no sense. It's not going to happen. Yes, they had a better rating. Yes, Tuesday night would probably be a better night for NXT. Wednesday could be be NXT. Thursday is the night that we take a break from wrestling and we go to Friday, and then we have Saturday and Sunday. If you really think that WWE, Vince McMahon, or the USA Network is going to allow somebody else to go in there and have a big rating on a rival station, you're out of your mind. It's just not going to happen. Now, again, should WWE move NXT to the USA Network's Tuesday night? If they want to keep it on TV, I guess. But here's an idea: put it back on the network. Put it back down to 1 hour where it fucking belongs. It does not need to be a 2-hour show. It does not need to be on the USA Network. I mean, look at what they did on Tuesday. A finish that the previous NXT would have never done. And you're going to give me that as your finish so you can pop a rating next Tuesday? I wonder how many people WWE and WWE turned off for next week's show. These ain't live. NXT hasn't been live in months. NXT has been taped back to back. So, as soon as this show was over with, they went off the air for Tuesday when they taped it, and then went right on to tape the next episode. And yes, we don't have actual people in the crowd be able to give us spoilers or anything, but WWE is turning people off because people are sick and tired of this. NXT of old is dead. It is going to be dead as long as Vince McMahon has full reigns over everything done in NXT. So, NXT going to a Tuesday night, give me a break. NXT going to a Thursday night, give me a break. Would it make much more sense? Because, let's face it, NXT's 18 to 49 demographic, which is the key demo for this show, doesn't exist going head-to-head with AEW. The last time these two shows went head-to-head, which was 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago or so, AEW kicked the shit out of them in women 18 to 49. I think it was like 20. It was one of those women's demographics that AEW scored a big number while NXT drew a 0 on. That's not good. So if they would be smart to keep it on Tuesday, would USA be happy about that? Would WWE be happy about that? No. Would the advertisers be happy about that? Yes, because the advertisers want their demographic. Like advertisers are trying to appeal to 18 to 49, but WWE's product is not appealing to 18 to 49s, and that's a big problem. But is AEW going anywhere? No. I mean, it's NXT. Yeah, AEW is not going anywhere. NXT's not going to move to a Tuesday night. I would be I will be shocked if NXT moves to Tuesday night permanently, or moves to Thursday night permanently. That would be Vince McMahon admitting defeat. And Vince McMahon does not like admitting defeat. He's had to do that with some of his other ventures multiple fucking times. XFL twice, World Bodybuilding Federation, the World, all these other things. He has had to admit defeat. He does not want to have to admit defeat for this. Just isn't going to happen. But let me know in the comment section below what you think. Do you think Vince McMahon is going to actually allow his company to lose like that? So, yeah. Okay, a little short one right here before we move on. AOP is no longer under WWE contract. They have been released. WWE has come to the terms of Akam and Razor's release. They have been out for a good while. AOP has been off TV since Razor suffered a bicep injury in March, right as they were in the middle of a push on Raw with Seth Rollins and Murphy. The push came as they were big fans of Paul Heyman, but they were Paul Heyman guys. And WWE is doing everything they can to eradicate the Paul Heyman regime. And honestly, every single time we turn around, Akam or Razor is injured, and they just couldn't stay healthy. It's got to be something with the main roster, because AOP was in NXT for how long? 2-3 years? Not one single injury that I can recall. Or one injury that was going to leave them out for months. So, AOP is gone. I am not surprised. Now, I said it on Twitter, it's like, it's a shame because these guys could be a major player in your tag team division, but that's right, you don't care about your tag team division. What happens with them? Are they going to show up in AEW? I don't think so. I don't think that's a reason for them to go to AEW. I just love how when a WWE talent gets released, everyone's like, oh, when are they going to show up in AEW? Let's do the Cody gif. I just don't see it happening. So, yeah, not going to happen. So, speaking of AEW, new AEW star Eddie Kingston was on a recent episode of Talk Is Jericho podcast when he discussed his first run in Impact Wrestling, where he signed with them 2 days after his WWE tryout. He detailed the troubles he had in his first run at Impact. He also got a contract. Of course, Eddie Kingston would return to Impact in 2017, where he was involved with a feud with Santana Ortiz. However, Kingston recalls blowing off Santana Ortiz on the Impact debut, as well as apologizing for his outburst. He admits that he does not blame management for the decision, saying he would have done the same if it was in a position. Now, as we know, he took on Cody for the TNT Championship before Cody lost to Brody Lee. He was one of the last people he actually defended the title against before he took on Brody Lee and lost the title. Right after he won, after that match was over, he got a contract offer from WWE. Why did they get a contract offer from WWE? It's real simple. Even though WWE fired and furloughed a shit ton of talent on April 15th and released the AOP just recently, they see somebody that AEW is interested in, they're going to try and sign them. I'm surprised we haven't had news that Warhorse has got a contract offer from WWE, because Warhorse had a hell of a match against Cody. It's just how typical how WWE does these things. So, of course, he did not sign there, and he went to AEW, where, of course, he was in the Battle Royal this past, yesterday. Okay, this one, I think, is going to be all we talk about today, hopefully. WWE, Brock Lesnar is a free agent, that's not news. His contract came up at WrestleMania, he had his time, and he's not being used because he's not under contract right now. But, despite that, WWE is still thinking of ways to use him after the fact. WWE has reportedly been discussing Lesnar facing Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania 37 in a rematch for the bout at WrestleMania 36. So yeah, WWE has reportedly been wanting to do Drew McIntyre vs. Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 37 again. Lesnar's contract expired following WrestleMania 36. This past April, Lesnar is free to sign with any company, including the UFC and AEW, although it is believed that Lesnar and WWE will eventually come to terms on a new deal. During a media call last week, Wrestling Inc. asked Tony Khan if he had any talks with Lesnar. He said, "I can't comment on that at this time, but I enjoyed Brock's work for many years. Managing editor Nick Hausman, he talked to, he is a great fighter and a great wrestler. I don't think people talk enough about how great of work Brock Lesnar is, and he's one of the greatest working big men ever. I've even seen one of those great athletes in the wrestling business. I have so much respect for him, but I can't comment on that." Lesnar, of course, last wrestled at WrestleMania 36. Listen, here's the deal. This happens all the time. Happens all the time. Brock Lesnar's going nowhere. If Tony Khan actually wanted to give him an offer, he would talk to Vince and be like, "Listen, this is what they're offering me. What do you got?" Vince would be like, "Well, we'll give you this instead." And it would be a lot more money for less dates. And Brock Lesnar would be back under the WWE umbrella like that. It's just not going to happen. Anybody thinking otherwise is a fool. "Oh, look, Brock Lesnar's a free agent. He's going to show up in AEW by the end of the year." No, he's not. He is WWE until the end of time. Unless, the only other place that he would go is the UFC. Brock Lesnar is not going to show up in AEW for a second. He's not going to show up and take, F5 people. You're not going to see a match between him and Wardlow, the F5 versus the F10. None of that. He is going to either be UFC or WWE. Just how it goes. If you think, like I said, if you think otherwise, you're an idiot. Now I say I have a little bit more time to go here. We do have this one from Matt Hardy. If anyone saw last night's match between Matt Hardy and Sammy Guevara, my God, how irresponsible of AEW. The man was concussed. They should have called the match off and called it a no contest. There was no winner because both men were standing. It was a broken rules match, aka a last man standing match. You rung the bell. Both men were standing when they called the match. You say, "This match has been called off. We will do this match when everyone is able and willing and able to be evaluated again." And AEW doing their best for damage control on the pay-per-view was horrendous as best. And then Tony Khan saying, "Oh, well, the doctor cleared him." There's no fucking way in the 45 to 60 seconds that you had for the doctor to evaluate Matt Hardy, did you do a proper concussion protocol to say, "Hey, this guy can go"? That was horrible. Who in their right fucking mind thought that was a good idea? You always hear how the wrestlers are the most important part of this. We take care of them, and then you do that to Matt Hardy. That was ridiculous. Now, before AEW's All Out, he was revealed that Vince McMahon wanted to move him to the role as a backstage producer during his previous run with WWE. Hardy was admittedly against the decision and decided to part ways with the company. In a recent interview with Chris Van Vliet, Hardy said that WWE had essentially given up on him as an on-screen performer. Vince was ready to move me from a talent to working backstage. He wanted me to be a producer, give back to the business, and teach the young guys, of course. I would be very happy to do that, just not now. Maybe a little later on. You can do both, by the way. Those are the last years that I can do this performing in the ring physically, so I wanted to do it at the highest level I possibly can. Hardy was written off WWE television during the February 17 edition of Monday Night Raw. Courtesy a vicious assault on the hands of Randy Orton. He arrived in AEW exactly a month later. Even though WWE offered to do other things after I asked to stay as a wrestler, I know in my head that they had already made up their mind on how they view me now. I needed to go somewhere else, and AEW was the best case scenario. The Booker one went on to praise WWE, giving him creative freedom as a performer, which they do. Speaking of that creative freedom, after everything that happened on Saturday, they need to pull. I can see why WWE wants to pull back on creative freedom, but it's one thing to give talent 100% creative freedom, but you have to tell people no sometimes. That spot from Matt Hardy last night did not need to happen. Spearing Matt Hardy, missing that first table, was a mistake. What they should have said was, well, that would be a cool spot, but instead of doing that, because Matt Hardy looked like he was going to do a side effect through both tables, that should have been the spot they did, because that would have been the safest spot. Why? Because you would have went through both tables, and both men would have been fine, the match could have went on the way it was supposed to go, and you wouldn't have concussion problems for Matt Hardy. That, I blame on the doctor, I blame on whoever put the match together, I blame on the talent as well. I blame on the referee, and I blame on Tony Khan. There is so much blame into this one segment. Doc Samson gets a lot of the blame because he should have said no. No. I don't care. Pretty much it looked like Matt Hardy, he asked Matt, are you okay? Matt's like, yes. And he's like, okay, he's cleared to go. That's how it looked. That was bad. On both ends. That was bad. They should have thought better for Matt Hardy and treated Matt Hardy a lot better. But they didn't. So now, Matt Hardy, who has a concussion, 100% you can't tell me he don't have a concussion after slapping his head on that concrete. What's going to happen from here on out? I don't know when it comes to AEW, but this was definitely a black eye on AEW. Darby Allin, same thing. I know that he is a crazy son of a bitch, and I know he was probably doing this shit on the indies. But did we really need thumbtacks in a body bag, powerbombed over the ring ropes onto the stage? No, we did not. Was that a lot safer than what happened with Matt Hardy? Yes, by a mile. But it still wasn't something we needed to see. I know Darby Allin wants to be this high-risk taker and everything, but the dude's got to pull it back at least a little bit. Matt Hardy, I hope is going to be okay. I know Darby's going to be all right, but they just got to learn to start telling these people, these talents, well, no, we can't do that. Your safety is going to be questioned because this is going to happen. This could happen. And as I said it during my review, if Matt Hardy and then were fixated, or whoever it was, just fixated on doing that spot, here's a good idea. Test a couple times where the things need to be so both tables get fallen through. Now, the way the tables were set up for that spot, obviously the side effect would have put them through both of those tables. The spear missed that first table completely. Sammy landed fine because he landed on the table, and Matt Hardy did not. So, I know people are going to blame Doc Samson for Matt Hardy even doing anything after that, as they should. They should blame Matt Hardy as well. But whoever put that spot together, if it was Matt Hardy, then blame him. If it was Sammy Guevara, you blame him. If it was Tony Khan, you blame him. Whoever put that spot in that match should be... If it was somebody else, like a Jerry Lynn or somebody else, they need to be suspended for reckless endangerment. That is what I'm going to say about that. It's time to pull back on these talents getting too much creative freedom. It's one thing to have creative freedom to build your characters up the way you want to. It's another thing for creative freedom in a match that could severely end somebody's career. We could be talking, like I said, Matt is 40-some years old. He's not a spring chicken. There's no reason to see this man going out there hitting spots like that or hitting spots like that. Maybe 20 years ago when people didn't know exactly what was up with concussions or how bad concussions are going to be, maybe you could see that type of spot, but that was not necessary in 2020. But I don't know what else I can say about that. And again, Darby needs to pull it back a little bit too. AEW last night, I'll say this again, I said it on my review, was the weakest show they have done in the history of AEW, which is a short history. And granted, they've had, just like NXT's last few takeovers have not been the best takeovers ever. Every company, even if a company is having banger after banger after banger after banger, a bad pay-per-view every once in a while is not a bad thing. But it is what it is, and hopefully we'll see what's going on with this whole wedding thing for AEW. Tony Khan did promise that this coming Wednesday is going to be a great episode with a lot of surprises. I will hold that to him. I don't want to take his word for it because I've seen what happens. Like, he said this was going to be the best pay-per-view we saw last night. It was not. All I know is we will find out what happens coming soon. Raw, doing terrible. SmackDown, doing terrible. AEW didn't have the best show on Wednesday night. NXT has shown that they are absolutely not the NXT that we know and love. I'm hoping that wrestling will get better as we go. The crowds being in AEW again is great. I wish WWE would have followed their protocols and did something. I know WWE doesn't like to have to follow the leader. They want to be the leader. But sometimes following other companies' leads could be what you need to do to make sure that your fans are back. Because I know it must be eating Vince McMahon up inside. Eating him up inside. To have to watch AEW's last 2 episodes of TV and their pay-per-view last night have fans. And they can't. They have to do the virtual thing. They are stuck between a rock and a hard place because the Amway Center will not allow them to have fans. But hey, this is what Vince McMahon gets. He reaps what he sows, and Vince McMahon will have to deal with it. Now, that is going to be all for your Unscripted episode number 135 for your September the 6th, 2020. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below, like or dislike this video. Find me on Twitter at The France Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The France Club. Find me on Instagram at The France Club. And I will see you guys, unfortunately, for tomorrow's episode of Monday Night Raw from the Thunderdome. But until then, my name is The France, and I'll see you guys later.